Hello, welcome to another scary story that you can fall asleep to. The bus shuddered as it climbed the final stretch of Mount Harrow. The world outside was an unending blur of mist and rain. Marcus pressed his hand against the cold window, watching the tree line fade in and out like ghosts, whispering secrets. He hadn't been back to Greywick in 20 years, not since his sister vanished on the edge of town. The driver was silent, eyes locked on the fog, thick road ahead. There were no other passengers, only the faint hum of the engine and the rhythmic slap of the windshield wipers. The GPS on Marcus's phone flickered in and out, the blue dot freezing and jumping like it didn't want to be here either. As the bus turned one last curve, a sign appeared through the haze. Welcome to Greywick, Est 1891. Hop? The numbers had been scratched out. Marcus frowned. The air outside seemed wrong, too still, too heavy. When the bus stopped at the old station, the driver didn't open the door right away. He stared at Marcus through the rearview mirror and said, "If you can, find what you came for. Don't stay past the third night." Marcus opened his mouth to ask what that meant, but the door hissed open. The town stretched ahead, empty streets, dim streetlights humming, and an endless veil of fog swallowing everything beyond a few meters. When Marcus stepped off, the bus door closed behind him. He turned to wave, but the bus was already gone, swallowed whole by the mist. Not even the sound of its engine remained. The silence that followed wasn't natural. It pressed against his ears, thick and alive. Then he saw something strange. The houses near the station seemed incomplete, their roofs faded into fog. But not because of distance. It was like they were dissolving, edges smearing into nothing. Marcus whispered to himself, "What the hell happened here?" From somewhere deep in the fog, a voice, soft and childlike, answered, "Nothing happened." It still happened it. Marcus tightened his coat as he walked through the mist. The streets of Greywick were coated in a thin film of water, puddles reflecting the flickering amber streetlights. The old stores were still here, or at least their ghosts were. The bakery S sign dangled by one rusted chain. The windows of the post office were papered over from the inside, though faint silhouettes moved behind the yellowed sheets. A hardware store had a sign on the door that read, "Closed until further notice." But the door creaked slightly open with each gust of wind, like something was breathing behind it. The town square was almost exactly as he remembered. The cracked fountain stood in the center, dry and overgrown with moss. The statue of the town's founder, Elias Gray, stared down at him, one eye chipped out. Marcus remembered his sister, Anna, running circles around that fountain when they were kids. She used to laugh, daring him to jump in. That was before the disappearances started. He walked the notice board beside the fountain. The papers were ancient, flaking at the edges, but one stood out, freshly printed, taped recently, missing name, Anna Bellamy, age 14, last seen, the 5th of June, 2005, if seen. Please contact Sheriff Dalton. Marcus froze. The same poster from 20 years ago, except the paper wasn't faded anymore. The ink looked wet. A chill rippled through him. He reached out and touched the paper, and the moment his fingers brushed it, the lights in the square flickered violently. When they steadied, the board was empty. No poster footsteps echoed behind him. Slow, deliberate, he spun around. But the square was empty, only fog, curling around the benches and trees like it had a mind of its own. Then, in the corner of his vision, a shape moved, something tall, impossibly thin, gliding between the trees. He blinked, and it was gone. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Unknown number. You shouldn't have come back, Marcus. He stared at the screen, heart pounding. The signal bar flickered. Then another message appeared. She never left. The phone went dark. The mist around the square thickened, swallowing the statue, the benches, even the fountain. All that remained was the faint sound of footsteps, now closer. Marcus backed away until his heel struck the curb. The footsteps stopped. Then, from within the fog, a whisper, "Welcome home." Marcus ran until the fog began to thin. His breath came out in short bursts, each one visible in the cold air. He stopped in front of a small inn, the Greywick Lodge, its windows faintly glowing with orange light. A wooden sign creaked overhead, half rotten but still hanging on. He hesitated before stepping inside. A bell jingled softly above the door. The air was thick with the smell of damp wood and old coffee. Behind the counter stood an older woman with silver hair and eyes that never quite blinked at the same time. She smiled when she saw him, but the expression didn't reach her eyes. "Evening, stranger," she said. "Not many come through Greywick anymore." "I am just visiting," Marcus replied. Her gaze lingered on him. "No one just visits Greywick." He signed the guest book, noticing the names above his were all crossed out. When he reached for the pen, he realized something else. His sister's name was on the first page. Anna Bellamy, Foodine, Room 7. His pulse spiked. "Who wrote this?" he asked. The woman tilted her head. "It always been there." Marcus forced a nervous laugh. "She's been missing for 20 years. The innkeeper's expression didn't change. "Missing." She leaned closer. "People don't go missing here. They just stop being remembered." A floorboard creaked upstairs. Marcus looked toward the staircase, half expecting to see someone. For a second, he thought he did. A small silhouette, maybe a child peeking from behind a banister. But when he blinked, it was gone. "Room 7, still open," the innkeeper said, sliding him a rusted key. "You should rest. The fog is heavier after midnight." He climbed the stairs slowly. Each step groaned under his weight. The hallway smelled like mildew and old paper. Every door he passed had scratches near the handle, like someone had tried to get out. When he reached room 7, he hesitated. The number was carved unevenly, as if scratched by hand. The door unlocked easily. The room was small, a single bed, a cracked mirror, a nightstand with a dead lamp. But what froze him was the wall above the bed. Carved into the plaster were words, repeated over and over. "I am still here. Gone to forget me." Marcus stepped closer. The last line was different, written fresher, darker. "She's coming back." He turned toward the mirror, and for just a second his reflection smiled before he did. Marcus did. Knee sleep. He sat on the edge of the bed, eyes locked on the mirror. The reflection had returned to normal, but the smile it gave him still crawled under his skin. The wind outside howled, shaking the windows. The lamp flickered weakly even though it wasn't plugged in. He opened his notebook and began writing. Anything to stay grounded. Dates, details, memories of Anna. But every time he looked down, some of the words he written were gone, erased clean, leaving blank lines where his handwriting should have been. At 2:43 a.m., the walls began to whisper. It started faint, like a radio buried under the floorboards, static blending with words. He leaned closer, pressing his ear against the cold plaster. Beneath the hum, he heard something. A girl's voice. Marcus, help me. He jerked back, heart pounding. It was Anna's voice, younger, exactly how he remembered it. He whispered her name, and the whisper answered, "You remember." The lamp flickered violently. The temperature dropped so fast his breath came out white. "Where are you?" he whispered. "Everywhere you forgot," the voice replied, "under the floor, behind the walls, in the space between the seconds." The floorboards creaked. Something moved beneath them, slow, dragging. He knelt and pressed his hand against the wooden planks. They were cold, trembling, like something was breathing, just beneath. He pulled back suddenly as the whisper turned into a wet scratching sound. It spread from the floor to the walls, then to the ceiling, circling him. "Stop it," Marcus shouted. Everything went silent. Then, in the stillness, the doorknob began to turn. It clicked once, twice. The lock slid open. Marcus grabbed the lamp and stepped back. The door creaked open an inch, revealing the dark hallway beyond. Nobody stood there, but the air smelled like wet earth, and faint footprints appeared on the carpet, walking into the room. They stopped at the foot of the bed. Then, on the mirror, a fogged handprint appeared, small, like a child. Slowly, a message wrote itself in the condensation. "She's behind you." Marcus spun around. Nothing, only silence. But when he looked back at the mirror, his reflection was gone. The reflection didn't return. The mirror was just an empty pane of glass now, showing only the room. Marcus wanted to smash it but couldn't. Move. Every muscle felt heavy, as if the air had thickened. A creak came from the hallway again, slow, deliberate. The footsteps weren't human, too uneven, too wet. They stopped outside his door. Then a faint tap, tap, tap. Marcus reached for the knob, hand shaking. When he opened the door, there was nothing but fog. The hall stretched longer than it should have, impossibly long, the far end swallowed in shadows. A new sound emerged, a rhythmic thump from below. The floorboards pulsed under his feet, like a heartbeat coming from the basement. The innkeeper hadn't mentioned a basement. He followed the sound, descending the stairs in darkness. Each step felt softer than the last, as if the wood itself were turning into something organic. The smell of rot grew stronger. At the base of the stairs was a narrow hallway lined with old photographs. Families smiling stiffly, eyes dull. But in each photo, one person, his face had been scratched out. At the end of the hall was a door chained shut. The chains were rusty, but fresh scratches marked the wood. Something on the other side wanted out. Marcus leaned close and heard breathing. Then, faintly, his sister's voice again. "Marcus, let me out." His throat tightened. "Anna." The breathing stopped. Then, in a different voice, deeper, wrong, came the whisper. "She is yours anymore." The chains rattled. Something slammed against the door so hard the walls shook. Marcus stumbled back and ran upstairs, slamming his room door shut behind him. For a long time he just listened, the silence pressing against his skull. When he finally dared to look in the mirror again, his reflection was back, but this time it blinked a second too late. Morning never really came. The fog outside was the same pale gray it had been all night. Marcus packed his bag and left the inn. The innkeeper was in tea at the counter. Only the guest book sat open. Every name, including his own, crossed out in red ink outside. The streets had changed. The bakery was gone. Not boarded up, not collapsed. Gone. Where it had stood was just a blank stretch of sidewalk. The post office, too, had vanished. Half the square was missing now, buildings replaced by empty, colorless fog. Marcus wandered toward the sheriff's office, hoping for answers. Inside, dust hung thick in the air. The place looked abandoned for decades, but on the desk sat a fresh cup of coffee, still steaming. "Sheriff Dalton?" he called out. A chair creaked behind him. When he turned, a man in a uniform sat at the desk, face pale, eyes glassy like old porcelain. "You came back," the sheriff said softly. "You shouldn't have." Marcus stared. "What's happening to this town?" The sheriff's lips twitched into something like a smile. "Greywick forgets. That's what it does. People vanish, and the town forgets they were ever here. But sometimes," he leaned closer, "sometimes the ones who are forgotten remember back. And that's when the fog comes." Marcus tried to process it. "My sister, she disappeared here. I saw her name, her handwriting." The sheriff cut him off. "Then she's part of it now. The town feeds on memory. The more you look for her, the more you'll fade too." Marcus stepped back. "That's insane." The sheriff stood, his chair scraping across the floor. His body seemed to flicker, parts of him blurring like bad reception. "You already fading, Marcus. Dawn, don't you feel it?" Marcus looked down at his hands and saw the edges of his fingers shimmering faintly translucent. He bolted for the door. But when he turned back, the office was empty. No desk, no coffee, no sheriff. Just fog seeping through the walls. Marcus ran until his lungs burned. The fog swallowed everything, muffling sound and distance. He couldn't tell where the square was anymore, or if it still existed. A faint sound drew him onward, humming. A child's voice, somewhere close. He followed it until a small figure emerged from the mist. A boy, maybe 8 years old, sitting in the middle of the street, playing with a toy car. His clothes were soaked, his skin pale like wax. Marcus approached cautiously. "Hey, kid, are you okay?" The boy didn't look up. He kept rolling the car back and forth. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly. "It remembers you." "What remembers me?" Marcus asked. The boy looked up. His eyes were completely white. "The fog." Marcus stumbled back. The boy's toy car kept moving, though his hand was no longer touching it. It rolled in slow circles before stopping at Marcus's feet. Carved into the metal was a word: "Stay." When Marcus looked back up, the boy was gone. Only a faint, wet footprint trail remained, leading straight into a wall that shouldn't have existed. He pressed his hand against the bricks. For a moment, they rippled like water. A whisper slid through from the other side. "She's waiting where time broke." Marcus pulled away, gasping. The wall solidified again. He looked down the empty street. Every window on every house now had a face pressed against the glass. Pale, featureless, watching, by instinct, Marcus headed for the old church. It sat on the hill overlooking Greywick, its bell tower long silent. The doors were open, swaying in the wind. Inside, candles burned, though no one was there to light them. The pews were coated in dust, and the air smelled faintly of iron. As he walked down the aisle, his footsteps echoed strangely, like there were more than 2 feet hitting the ground. At the altar, he found a book resting open. The pages were blank, except for a single handwritten line. "We pray to remember. We die when we re-forgotten." The bell tolled above him, slow and deep. He looked up. The ropes moved on their own. Dust fell from the rafters. Then he saw her. A figure standing near the confessional booth. Long black hair, head slightly tilted. Her dress was old, torn. Anna, Marcus whispered. The figure turned, but a face wasn't hers. It was something else wearing her shape, smiling too wide. You remembered, it said, voice layered with dozens of others. Marcus stumbled back. The air grew colder. The candles went out one by one. The figure stepped forward, her body glitching in short jerks, light flickering across her like static. If you remember me, she said, I'll never leave. As he reached the door, the bell above cracked, falling and shattering behind him. Inside the church, 100 voices screamed his name at once. Marcus hid in an abandoned diner, trying to catch his breath. His hands trembled as he lit a match. The flame barely pierced the fog seeping through the broken windows. On the counter sat a notebook covered in dust. The front read, "Property of Sheriff Dalton." He flipped through it. Every page listed names, families, residents, children. Next to each, a date and a single word, forgotten. Then he found his sister's name, Anna Bellamy, forgotten the 6th of June, 2005. Below it, in a different handwriting, the brother keeps remembering. The town doesn't tea like that. Marcus' stomach turned. He flipped the page. There was one more entry at the bottom. Marcus Bellamy, scheduled for forgetting, the 8th of October, 2025. Today, date. The match burned his fingers. He dropped it, heart racing. From the kitchen came a metallic clatter. A spoon rolled across the floor and stopped at his shoe. Something in the darkness whispered, "It's almost time." Marcus hadn't realized how long he'd been there until he stepped outside and saw the sky. A pale, motionless gray, as if the sun itself had been erased. The innkeeper's warning echoed in his mind. Don't stay past the third night. He tried to leave town. Every road he took looped back into itself. The fog bent space like a living maze. No matter how far he walked, he always ended up back at the square, or what was left of it. Now even the statue of Elias Gray was half gone, fading from the waist up like an unfinished sketch. Marcus shouted into the emptiness. "What do you want from me?" The fog rippled like disturbed water. Then came the answer, not from one direction, but from everywhere. "We want what you keep, my memories." A shape emerged, tall, thin, its face shifting between familiar ones. His mother, his sister, the innkeeper, the sheriff. "Everything you remember belongs to us now." Marcus backed away, but his legs wouldn't move fast enough. The fog surged forward, wrapping around him, whispering his name again and again, until the sound filled his head. Before the world went black, he heard a child's voice, Anna's whisper one last thing. "Don't let them forget you, Marcus. Don't." Then silence. Marcus woke on the cracked pavement of the town square. His body ached, limbs stiff as if he slept for a week. Yet time felt meaningless. The sky was still the same motionless gray. The town looked different. Buildings leaned at impossible angles. Windows stared like blank eyes. The fountain had dissolved entirely, leaving only a shallow pit filled with black water that reflected nothing. He stood, brushing grit off his clothes. His phone buzzed. No signal, but the screen lit up anyway. A single message you can leave any time. If you stop remembering. A shiver ran down his spine. His sister's voice echoed faintly from somewhere in the fog. Marcus, he followed it instinctively. Each step felt heavier than the last. The streets shifted beneath him. Houses that had been there moments ago were gone. replaced by stretches of gray emptiness. Every time he tried to mark a path, footprints appeared, not his own, but smaller ones trailing alongside him, then vanishing. A door appeared out of the fog, old, wooden, with peeling paint. He didn't too remember it being there. The whispers grew louder inside, voices overlapping in discordant tones. Forget. Remember. Come, stay. Marcus's reflection appeared in the cracked glass of the door. Only it wasn't he, right? His eyes flickered white. His lips moved slightly out of sync. The reflection smiled. Before he could react, the door creaked open on its own. Inside was a room that shouldn't exist. The walls curved inward impossibly, the ceiling nowhere to be seen. In the center sat a chair, and on it a figure, hunched, long black hair, face hidden in shadow. A familiar voice hissed, "You shouldn't have remembered." Marcus felt the fog pressing in from all sides. He stepped forward anyway, heart pounding. The chair was empty. Then, from the darkness of the ceiling, a whisper, "Look up." When he did, hundreds of eyes opened in the walls above him, blinking in unison. They watched, and then one, unmistakably, was Anna. Marcus stumbled backward as the eyes above him blinked in unison. Panic rose like bile in his throat. The walls seemed to pulse, expanding and contracting as though breathing. Every face in the plaster and brick twisted into familiar shapes. Neighbors, friends, strangers. And then Anna. Her eyes met his, wide and hollow, and she whispered, "Remember me, or lose yourself." The chair in the center was gone, replaced by a hallway lined with mirrors. Each mirror reflected not just Marcus, but dozens of versions of him. Younger, older, twisted, screaming silently. He tried to look away, but his gaze was drawn forward. At the end of the hall, a door carved into the fog gleamed faintly. The voice from before echoed again, "This way, if you dare." Marcus walked, each step dragging him into a suffocating weight. Shadows licked the edges of his vision, forming hands that reached for his ankles. When he looked down, dozens of small pale hands protruded from the floorboards, grabbing at him, whispering his memories, your childhood, your first kiss, the sound of her laugh. He ripped free, breaking the whispers. But his reflection in the mirrors no longer moved in sync. His image smiled at him with a mouth he didn't. Teon. The hallway spat him out onto a street he didn't recognize. The town had changed again. Buildings leaned at impossible angles. The sky pulsated faintly, as if alive. A bell tower rose in the distance, taller than any building should be. Twisting as though growing, something compelled him forward. Each step toward the tower, the air thickened, the fog coiling around him like living chains. The whispers followed, now joined by laughter, hundreds of voices, children and adults, all lost, all trapped in Greywick. At the base of the tower, the door swung open. Darkness poured out. Marcus entered, his footsteps echoing unnaturally. The inside spiraled upward impossibly, stairs that shouldn't exist, stretching into the black sky. At every landing, he saw fragments of the town, streets he recognized, rooms he had slept in, snippets of memories, and in each, Anna appeared, her eyes pleading. A loud bell tolled above him. The sound vibrated in his chest. Each strike made the fog outside twist violently, stretching like taffy. Something inside him shook. A memory he didn't want to forget surfaced the day she disappeared, and the last time he saw her alive. He finally reached the top. The belfry opened to nothing but fog. Below, the town was unrecognizable, a swirl of gray and shadows. He heard the voice again, Anna, or what she had become, now layered with hundreds of others. Marcus, Dawn, T, leave me. Figures emerged from the fog, human shapes, but wrong, limbs bent at unnatural angles, faces melting, stretching. They approached silently, moving like smoke. Marcus backed away until he felt the edge of the tower beneath him. Nothing but air. The fog whispered again. All you remember belongs to us. One of the figures stepped closer. Anna, S-shape. Her eyes glowed pale white. She held out her hands. Remember me, she said, or we take it all. The other shapes advanced. Marcus realized the truth. The fog didn't just erase the town, its memories. It ate them, and now it hungered for his. Marcus stumbled back, heart hammering. The fog swirled below, reaching upward, tendrils curling like fingers. He understood the terrible decision he faced, stay and risk being consumed by Greywick, or forget everything to escape. He remembered the innkeeper. S words, Dawn, T, stay past the third night. He hadn't T. It was the fourth now. He could feel himself fading. Parts of his own body, his thoughts, even his sense of self, were slipping like sand through his fingers. Anna's figure hovered closer. Her face shifted constantly. Familiar, alien, pleading. Remember me. Marcus closed his eyes, trying to hold onto her memory, to himself. He could feel the fog creeping into his lungs, his mind. His body wavered, flickering in and out, like one of the town's lost reflections. He opened his eyes. The fog pulsed, alive. The choice was his. Fight to remember, or surrender and leave Greywick behind. Without her, without himself. A whisper hissed in his ear. Decide. Before the last bell, Marcus stood at the edge of the bell tower, fog curling around him like living smoke. The distant chime of a bell vibrated through the air, low and impossible. Each toll echoed in his skull, threatening to erase everything he remembered. Anna's figure hovered closer, flickering between child and woman, alive and dead. Remember me, she whispered, voice layered with dozens of others. Marcus' vision blurred. Every building below twisted and melted, streets folding into each other. Greywick was no longer a town. It was a living, breathing nightmare. The fog roared like an ocean, carrying voices and faces of the forgotten. With the fourth toll, the edges of his hands vanished, his shoes blending into the fog. He felt himself becoming part of the town, a memory waiting to be erased. He closed his eyes, clenching his fists. If he let go now, he would vanish forever. If he fought, he might survive, but at what cost? A presence appeared beside him, taller than any man, shadowed, faceless. You can fight, it said. Its voice sounded like grinding stone, but you cannot escape. Greywick consumes all that is remembered and forgotten alike. Marcus clenched his teeth. Then I fight. The presence nodded, and the fog shifted violently, revealing fragments of memories. Childhood laughter, the feel of Anna, his hand in his, the first snow he remembered. The town's power drew from these memories, twisting them into something monstrous. Marcus felt them surge through him, flames of recollection against the cold of the fog. Faces pressed against the walls, begging to be remembered. He whispered each name, each detail, forcing himself to hold them all in mind. The shadow moved aside, letting him see the abyss below. Anna's face appeared in the fog, clearer now, eyes pleading. Don't let me go, she said. Marcus took a step forward, reaching into the void. When his fingers touched the fog, it rippled like water, carrying screams and whispers. Each memory he held onto solidified briefly into shapes. Friends, strangers, families long vanished. They clawed at the fog, trying to escape. Marcus felt his own reflection flicker in the mist, a pale, fading version of himself. He realized he was losing time, losing presence. Every second that passed, the town tried to claim him. He pressed on, moving through the swirling gray, calling Anna's name. Each time he said it, her form became more human, more real. But the fog fought back. It coiled around him, whispering lies. Forget her. Forget yourself. Become one with us. He shook his head violently, forcing the memories back into focus. Names, faces, laughter, love, fear, he clutched them tightly. Not today, he shouted. Before him appeared a stairway spiraling upward into the black sky. Each step was made of flickering light, memories solidifying as he ascended. The fog lashed at him, trying to drag him back, to make him stumble. With each step, the voices grew louder, desperate, pleading. Marcus recognized them. Friends who Dee moved away, a neighbor who Dee died years ago, strangers Dee passed in life. They whispered, "Do you remember me?" He did. He remembered them all. The stairway twisted impossibly, time fractured, minutes stretched into hours, seconds collapsed into nothing. Anna appeared again at the top, beckoning him. "This is it," she said softly. The last step. Marcus swallowed hard. His legs shook. The fog clawed at him, screaming, trying to pull him into oblivion. Marcus reached the top. The world beneath him had vanished entirely. Only an endless void of gray, mist, and shadows remained. Anna stood before him, fully real, fully human, but the fog surrounded her like tendrils, trying to pull her back. "You can come with me," she said, "or leave everything behind to survive." Marcus glanced down into the void. The fog whispered, promising safety if he let go, but he could feel himself fading, his memories fraying. He took a deep breath, gripping her hand. "I won, to forget." The fog screamed in fury. Shadows clawed at him, trying to drag him into nothingness. But he held on to Anna, onto every memory, every fragment of life. For the first time, the fog hesitated. The mist swirled violently, but could not pull him in. His memories, his will, burned brighter than the consuming gray. Anna smiled, and the void trembled. When Marcus opened his eyes, Greywick was no longer a town. Streets folded over themselves like origami, buildings stacked impossibly, and the sky rippled like molten metal. Even Anna seemed slightly distorted, her form wavering as if reality struggled to hold her shape. Voices screamed from the fog. Old memories he hadn't even known he had. They pressed against his mind, clawing, demanding attention. Every step he took reshaped the streets beneath him. One moment, the bakery he remembered from childhood appeared. The next, it was gone, replaced by a field of gray mist. Anna gripped his hand tighter. "Hold on to me," she whispered. "If you let go now, you'll be lost forever." Marcus nodded, swallowing the fear tightening his chest. He could feel the fog trying to erase him, bend him, twist him into part of its endless emptiness. The fog thickened, and shapes began to emerge. Hundreds of faces, pale, featureless, some familiar, some not. They circled him and Anna, pressing close, their whispers a maddening cacophony. "Remember, forget. Join us." Marcus felt the memories of others brush against his mind, Memories that weren't his own. A child's birthday, a lover's last kiss, a friend he never had, all pressed at his skull. He clenched his teeth. I remember all of you, he shouted, forcing the memories back into place. His will burned like fire, pushing the fog back. One of the faces twisted into Anna's, smiling too wide. You were not strong enough, it hissed. Marcus shook his head. I won. He let you take her, or me. The town began to spin around them. Streets became staircases. Buildings grew taller than mountains, then collapsed into dust. Time fractured. Marcus could see the same moment repeat endlessly. His arrival in Greywick, the bus, the square, the inn over and over, each replay distorted, grotesque. Anna pulled him forward. You have to climb, she said. To the top. The spiral is the only way to end this. He followed her up an impossibly tall spiral staircase, each step cracking and bending. The fog hissed beneath them. Faces reached through the gaps, desperate to pull him down. He remembered the innkeeper's warning. Don't stay past the third night. But there was no choice now. Every step felt like it lasted years, stretching his mind, testing his grip on reality. Finally, they reached the center of the spiral, a massive void of black mist, swirling violently, stretching infinitely in all directions. This was the heart of Greywick, the source of the town's memory, consuming power. Marcus felt the void reach for him, tendrils of fog snaking around his ankles, his waist, his chest. It whispered all the names of those who had been lost here, including Anna, us. Don't let go, she shouted. It wants to erase everything we are. He clutched her hand, focusing on her, on himself. Every memory he had of her, her laugh, her voice, her touch, he forced into the center of his mind, like a flare against the consuming black. The fog shrieked, a sound like 1,000 souls being torn apart. The spiral shook violently. Marcus gritted his teeth, refusing to let go. The heart of Greywick pulsed like a living thing. Shadows formed humanoid shapes, dozens of them stretching from the void like giant arms. They reached for Marcus and Anna, whispering, remember, forget, become. Marcus planted his feet firmly. I remember her, he shouted. I remember everything. The fog collided with his will, a crushing wave, but his memories burned like fire. Every second he held on to Anna, every laugh, every childhood moment, every face in the town he had ever known. He forced it into focus. The shadows recoiled, screeching, twisting back into the void. The spiral cracked, pieces of the town splintering. The mist shrank away, unable to erase him. Anna smiled at him, tears in her eyes. You did it. Marcus shook, exhausted but alive. For the first time, Greywick seemed to hesitate, like it was uncertain how to react to someone who refused to be forgotten. For the first time since his arrival, Marcus could see the edges of the town clearly. The fog, once thick and alive, had pulled back slightly, revealing streets and buildings, though warped, twisted, and unstable. Shadows still flickered at the edges, whispering, but they no longer pressed directly against him. Anna stood beside him, pale but whole. It's weakening, she whispered. You held onto enough memories. Marcus nodded, exhaustion weighing him down like stone. Then what now? Anna shook her head. We need to find the source, the thing controlling all of it. The core isn't just fog, it. He shivered. The air hummed with a low vibration, as though the town itself were breathing. Waiting, they walked along a street that seemed to stretch into infinity. Buildings leaned impossibly, windows staring like eyes. Every step echoed, yet every echo carried voices from another time. Laughter, screams, whispered names. Marcus tried to focus, blocking out the noise, but fragments of memories not his own slipped into his mind. A stranger's face smiled, then twisted into a mask of horror. Anna took his hand tightly. It tries to distract you. The more you doubt, the weaker you are. He clenched his jaw. I won. He let it win. At the end of the street, the building pulsed with darkness, the unmistakable heart of Greywick. The fog around it shimmered unnaturally, forming grotesque faces and shapes that twisted and reached outward. Inside the building, the air was thick, suffocating. The walls seemed to pulse with life, veins of fog writhing along them like snakes. At the center floated a black sphere, suspended in midair. Within it, countless faces twisted and screamed silently. Marcus realized with horror, every person Greywick had forgotten was trapped here, consumed, their memories feeding the town. Anna tugged at his arm. This is it, she said. We have to destroy it, or it will destroy you. The sphere pulsed, sensing them. Voices called Marcus's name, pulling at his mind, tempting him to look away, to forget Anna, to vanish. He gritted his teeth, focusing on her face, on every memory they had shared. The fog inside the room shrieked, lashing out, trying to pull him in. The sphere reacted violently, pulsating brighter, and a single thought struck Marcus: to destroy this, someone had to give up their memories entirely. Anna's eyes widened. No, you don't. To have to do it alone. Marcus shook his head. If we both give in, we'll be lost too. But if I do it, if I surrender myself, I can save everyone, including you. The fog surged, clawing at him, testing his resolve. Faces of the lost pressed against the sphere, pleading, screaming, reaching out. Marcus could feel his own memories starting to unravel as he approached the sphere. Anna held his hands. I'll hold on to you. Even if you fade, I'll remember you. He nodded once, heart hammering. One step, and he touched the black sphere. The moment his fingers brushed the sphere, a shock wave of memories erupted. Marcus felt every stolen memory pulse through him. Lives he never lived, faces he never knew, but each one screamed in gratitude and fear. The sphere throbbed violently, trying to pull him in entirely. He focused on Anna, on his own life, on every memory he refused to relinquish. The fog shrieked, twisting, screaming, melting back into the void. The black sphere quivered, cracked, and then shattered into shards of mist. A silence followed, heavy and strange, as if the world itself were exhaling for the first time in centuries. The streets of Greywick began to stabilize. Buildings straightened. Faces in the fog vanished. Anna stood beside him, whole and solid, tears streaking her cheeks. You did it. Marcus sank to his knees, exhausted, shaking. The town was still strange, still warped, but it was alive, no longer hungry, no longer trying to erase him. For now, Greywick remembered. Marcus staggered through the streets beside Anna. The fog had thinned but lingered like a faint memory of its former hunger. Buildings, though warped and leaning, now held their shape. Windows reflected the morning light instead of blank, endless gray. Yet, as he looked around, some houses flickered, edges wavering like film in an old projector. People, as silhouettes appeared in the distance, but when he blinked, they were gone. Greywick remembered him, but perhaps not everyone else. Anna gripped his hand. We have to check the inn, she said softly. If anyone survived here, that is where they'd be. Marcus nodded, wary. Every step still carried the echo of whispers. Though fainter, the town had changed, but its hunger lingered, like a shadow refusing to leave. Greywick Lodge looked intact, though more aged than before. Marcus pushed open the door. The bell chimed weakly, a fragile sound compared to the constant ringing of the past nights. Inside, the innkeeper stood, hands folded, expression unchanged. "You've done what few can," she said. "But remember, the town is not defeated, only quieted," Marcus swallowed. "And the others?" The innkeeper, gaze shifted. "Some will awaken, some will remain lost. Greywick remembers differently now, selectively, but it will always want." A chill ran down his spine. Even in the stabilizing town, the threat hadn't vanished entirely. As they stepped outside, Marcus noticed a flicker of movement in the windows above the empty bakery. He blinked, faces pale, silent, watching. They didn't move toward him. They didn't speak, but they were there, reminders of what Greywick had consumed. Anna shivered. "It still hungry?" she whispered. Marcus nodded. He wanted to reassure her, wanted to believe the fight was over, but he could ignore the uneasy feeling crawling up his spine. The town may have been quiet, but it was alive, waiting. That night Marcus awoke to whispers, faint and distant, carrying through the walls of room 7. He sat up, heartbeat racing, but the room appeared normal. His phone buzzed, a single message on the screen. "Do you remember us?" The words pulsed faintly, almost alive. Marcus's hands shook as he stared at it. Greywick's reach was longer than he realized. Even outside the core, the town could still test him, still tempt him to forget. Anna placed her hand on his shoulder. "It's testing us," she said softly. "We survived. That's the start, but we can let it win again." Marcus and Anna left the inn together, walking the quiet streets. For the first time, the town seemed almost peaceful. He could see the sunrise faintly through gaps in the mist, pale and weak but real. Yet, every shadow, every flicker at the corner of his vision reminded him Greywick was watching, waiting. Marcus clenched his fists. He remembered every memory he had fought to protect. Anna, his childhood, the faces of the lost. He would not let the town erase him, but a small part of him wondered, how long could memory alone hold back something that had existed for centuries, feeding on everything people forgot? The town was quiet for now, but Greywick was patient, and patience, Marcus knew, could outlast anything. The next day, Marcus and Anna wandered through the town. Buildings leaned at impossible angles, but now held together. Streets were paved, and the faint sun glimmered through thinning fog. Yet, Marcus noticed subtle oddities. Sidewalks that seemed longer than before, corners of streets bending into places he didn't recognize. Each alleyway whispered faintly, carrying memories of the people who had vanished. Laughter, cries, arguments, greetings. "They left traces," Anna said quietly. "Even if they gone, they still here somehow." Marcus nodded. He realized Greywick wasn't just a place. It was a memory, a living echo of every life it had swallowed. In the square they spotted movement. A man in tattered clothes, hunched over, staring at the ground. Marcus approached slowly. "Are you okay?" he asked. The man looked up. His eyes were pale, haunted. I remember. Someone said the town would forget me. But it didn't. Not entirely." Anna stepped closer. "You safe now," she said, though her voice trembled. The man nodded slowly. Safe for now. Marcus realized there might be others, fragments of people who had escaped the core, those whose memories were too strong to erase. Greywick's hunger was not complete, but it would always try to reclaim what it had lost. They explored the old library, bookshelves twisted and sagged, filled with dusty volumes. Some books seemed normal, but others contained pages that shifted as they read, recounting memories Marcus didn't recognize, lives he had never lived. Anna picked up a book and opened it. Her name appeared on a page surrounded by sentences that hadn't existed before. Anna Bellamy, remembered, but incomplete. Will she hold the town as secret? Marcus frowned. The town is writing itself and us into its story. They realized that Greywick could not only consume memories, it could rewrite them, play with perception, test them. Even now, the town's power lingered, subtle but dangerous. That night, as Marcus and Anna returned to the inn, shadows moved differently. Faces appeared in windows again, flickering, some screaming silently, others smiling mournfully. Marcus shivered. Even after the core, it still here. Anna nodded. The lost are still here. We freed some, but not all. The town remembers them, just as it remembers us. The whispers returned, quieter this time, more like murmurs than screams. Marcus recognized some of the voices, neighbors, classmates, strangers, and realized the town was learning, evolving. Greywick was patient. Marcus and Anna had survived the first battle, but the war had only begun. Marcus sat at the inn, staring at the guest book. Names he recognized were crossed out, others untouched. He traced his finger over his own name. A note appeared on the page, seemingly written by the innkeeper. Even if you survived, the town watches. It waits for memories to weaken, remember, or it will take you next. Anna joined him. We can't stay passive. We have to understand it, or it will keep coming. Marcus nodded grimly. Greywick had been quiet for now, but patience, he realized, was its greatest weapon. And patience, combined with time, could destroy even the strongest will. The town was still alive, still hungry, and Marcus and Anna were only beginning to understand what it truly meant to survive. The next morning, Marcus and Anna found a narrow alley they had never seen before. Buildings pressed in so tightly it felt like a tunnel. The fog clung thicker here, coiling around their legs. At the alley's end was a door carved with strange symbols, jagged lines and spirals that seemed to move when viewed from the corner of their eyes. Marcus reached for the handle. The door groaned open on its own. Inside was darkness, but faint whispers beckoned. Come closer. See, remember. Anna grabbed his arm. This is different. The town is showing us something. Marcus nodded, heart hammering. They stepped inside. The door opened onto a vast chamber. Shadows shifted along the walls, forming human shapes. Faint lights flickered overhead, revealing hundreds of mirrors, each reflecting memories of people long gone. The whispers became voices, soft, overlapping. They spoke of fear, regret, love, death. Marcus realized the town had been collecting these fragments for centuries. A figure appeared in one mirror, a man in a dark cloak, face hidden. He raised a hand pointing at them. A voice, cold and ancient, echoed through the chamber. You should not have come. The mirrors rippled. Faces pressed out from the glass, mouths moving silently, eyes begging to be remembered. Marcus and Anna shivered. They walked further into the chamber and discovered a massive loom-like structure, threads stretching into the shadows. Each thread pulsed with light, showing moments from people lives, births, deaths, joys, regrets. Marcus realized the town was weaving memory itself, shaping reality, feeding on the forgotten, preserving what it needed. Anna whispered, "It's alive. The town isn't just aware. It's constructing." A thread snapped suddenly, sending a pulse through the chamber. Faces in the mirrors screamed, then vanished. Marcus staggered back. "This is what we fought," he said. "The real heart of Greywick." The man in the cloak stepped forward, his face still hidden, but his presence immense. "You have survived the core," he said, voice deep, layered. "Few do, but survival alone will not save you." Marcus clenched his fists. "What are you? Why is this happening?" The figure tilted his head. "I am what Greywick has become. It was once a town, a place of life. It feeds, preserves, consumes, and it has grown hungry." Anna shivered. "Can we stop it?" The cloaked figure laughed softly, a sound like grinding stones. "You can delay it. You can manipulate its threads. But Greywick will always adapt, and it remembers every resistance." Marcus stared at the loom, the threads shimmering with human lives. Each thread seemed fragile, but interconnected. He realized they could manipulate it. Tug the threads carefully, preserve memories, perhaps even reclaim lost fragments of the town. Anna nodded beside him. "If we do this right, we might stabilize Greywick." For a while, Marcus reached out, touching a thread. A memory flashed. Anna as a child, laughing in the square. He pulled gently, feeling the pulse of the town resist, then shift slightly in response. The cloaked figure's voice echoed behind them. "The more you try, the more it will fight." Greywick is patient, but patience is not weakness. Marcus understood this was only the beginning. Greywick was ancient, clever, and alive, and they were the first to fight it from within. But the cost could be everything. Marcus gripped a glowing thread tightly. Each pulse sent a shock through his body, memories flickering in his mind, not all his own. Anna watched, guiding him. "Focus," she whispered. "Keep the memory clear. That's the only way." He tugged carefully, drawing the thread toward the center of the loom. The faces in the mirrors rippled. Some smiled faintly, some screamed, some vanished. The town fought back subtly. Shadows in the corners twisted. Fog crept into the chamber, trying to suffocate their concentration. Marcus shook his head. "It alive. It does. Do you want us to do this?" Anna nodded. "Then we fight carefully." As they worked, more faces began to appear in the mirrors. Lost residents, long forgotten children, fragments of memories that were half formed. Marcus realized he could anchor them, keep them from fading completely. A shadow detached itself from the far wall, moving toward them. It was a humanoid form, but its edges dissolved into fog. "You cannot change what has been forgotten," it whispered, voice like dry leaves. Marcus ignored it. He tugged a thread, rewiring the memory into a stable loop. The shadow hissed, recoiling, then vanished back into the walls. Anna smiled faintly. "Each thread we save is one less life lost. We can save all, but we can save some." Suddenly the loom pulsed violently. Threads snapped, faces in the mirrors twisted grotesquely, screaming. Marcus felt the backlash, the town retaliating for their interference. The cloaked figure, his voice echoed again. "You dare manipulate the weave. It is not yours to control." Marcus and Anna clung to each other. "We can. Stop now," Marcus shouted. "We have to finish, or everything will fall back into chaos." The loom vibrated, shaking the chamber. Every step they took to stabilize threads sent ripples through the town outside. Buildings bent, streets folded, fog rose higher. Greywick was fighting, defending itself. Anna pointed to a glowing thread, one that pulsed faintly with her own childhood memory. "This one is mine," she said. "It's anchored to me. If we can pull it fully, maybe we can create a stronghold, a place Greywick cannot erase." Marcus nodded. Together they tugged the thread carefully, holding it steady. The chamber calmed slightly, faces in the mirrors growing more defined, less frantic. The town fought still, but their anchor held. Anna smiled, relief flooding her features. "It is working. We can stabilize parts of Greywick." Marcus felt hope for the first time in weeks. "Then let us keep going. Every memory we save is another victory." Hours passed. Marcus and Anna moved through the chamber, pulling threads, stabilizing memories, anchoring fragments of lives that would otherwise be erased. Greywick roared and trembled around them, but they persevered. For the first time, some of the town felt real again. Streets straightened, fog thinned, shadows softened. Faces in the windows became solid, some even blinking in relief. Marcus turned to Anna, exhausted but smiling faintly. "We did it, at least partway," Anna nodded. "It's only a start. Greywick won, T-stop, but neither will we. Every memory we save is proof we can fight it." Outside the chamber, the town seemed calm. For the first time, it obeyed them, at least partially. Greywick was still alive, still patient. But for the first time, Marcus and Anna had a foothold, and in Greywick, patience was everything. The calm didn't last. Outside the chamber, the streets of Greywick shifted violently. Buildings bent and twisted as if alive, windows glowing with faint, hungry light. Shadows slithered along the walls, coiling and striking at anything that moved. Marcus and Anna felt the floor shake beneath them. "It knows we re-hear," Marcus shouted. "It knows what we redoing." The fog surged, lashing through cracks in the chamber, pressing at their minds with whispers of despair. "You will fail. Remember nothing. Vanish." Anna gritted her teeth. "We've stabilized some threads if we keep going. We can push back," they braced themselves. Greywick was testing them, and it would not give up easily. Suddenly, one of the threads they had stabilized snapped violently. A face in a mirror twisted grotesquely and shrieked, sending a pulse through the chamber. Marcus staggered, memories flooding him, some not his own. Lives he never lived, screams he had never heard. The cloaked figure, his voice echoed again, cold and layered. "You are meddling with powers beyond your comprehension." Marcus fell to his knees, clutching his head. Anna grabbed. "Focus on me. Hold on to this." He gritted his teeth, steadying the anchor of their memory. Slowly, the thread stabilized again, the mirror face relaxing, whispering in gratitude before fading peacefully. "Greywick won. Dawin. If we keep our minds strong," Anna said. Exploring further, Marcus and Anna discovered a hidden staircase descending below the loom chamber. The walls were etched with ancient symbols, spirals, and jagged lines that seemed to hum faintly. At the bottom, they found a massive stone slab carved with a single, chilling phrase. "This town is older than memory. It grows by feeding on what is forgotten." A faint glow revealed skeletal remains embedded in the stone, faces pressed forever into the walls. Marcus realized Greywick was not just a town. It was a living entity, built over centuries, feeding on generations of forgotten lives. Anna swallowed hard. "It is eternal," Marcus nodded grimly, "and we re only the latest to fight it." As they returned to the loom, Marcus noticed the threads pulsing faster, flickering violently. Greywick had sensed their exploration and was retaliating. Shadows surged from the walls, taking humanoid forms and lunging at them. "Hold the threads," Marcus shouted. "Don't let it take what we saved." They tugged, pulled, anchored memories. The shadows screamed and shrieked, writhing like living smoke. But the threads held. Each thread they saved diminished Greywick's control in that area. The cloaked figure appeared again, watching silently. "You can delay the inevitable," he said, "but the town learns, and it never forgets a challenge." Finally, at the center of the loom, Marcus noticed a larger, denser thread pulsing with a deep black light, darker than the rest, vibrating with a malevolent intelligence. Anna gasped. That's the core thread, the original. Everything else feeds from it." Marcus reached out carefully. He could feel it resisting, every pulse a shock through his mind. "If we can stabilize this, maybe we can control the rest. Maybe even the whole town." The cloaked figure's voice echoed one last time before vanishing. "Do not think the town will submit willingly. The heart remembers all who defy it." Marcus and Anna exchanged a grim look. The real battle had just begun. The heart of Greywick pulsed, waiting for the next move. Marcus and Anna stood before the massive black thread, pulsing with dark energy. The air vibrated, thick and heavy. Shadows from the walls twisted, forming clawed shapes, hissing and lunging at them. "This is it," Anna whispered. "The heart of Greywick." Marcus nodded. "We hold it, or we lose everything." He reached out, hand trembling. As his fingers brushed the thread, a wave of memories slammed into him. Not his own, but the forgotten lives of hundreds, perhaps thousands. Screams, laughter, fear, joy, all intermingled. The thread pulsed violently, as if alive. Greywick was aware, conscious, resisting. As Marcus gripped the core thread, the chamber shook. Faces pressed against mirrors, stretching and twisting, some screaming silently. The thread pulsed again, sending shivers down their spines. Anna held his other hand. "We need to anchor it. Focus on what you want to save, Marcus." He clenched his teeth, pulling memories together. Anna, his childhood, the fragments of those they had rescued. The thread quivered, the shadows recoiling slightly. A whisper echoed, "You are nothing without memory." Marcus shouted over it, "I am everything I remember." The thread pulsed again, stronger, but for the first time, it responded to him, bending under their influence. Suddenly, the walls trembled violently. Floors cracked, shadows surged like waves, clawing at them, trying to pull Marcus from the core. "Hold on," Anna screamed, gripping him tightly. Marcus felt his mind being assaulted. False memories, distorted visions, fragments of lives he recognize, all trying to break his will. He shut his eyes, anchoring himself to Anna, to the memories he had fought for. Slowly, the shadows weakened. The core thread pulsed rhythmically, acknowledging his control, but still resisting. "We can do this," Anna said, voice steady. "We're stronger than it thinks." A deep, rumbling voice filled the chamber, emanating from the core thread itself. "You cannot contain me. I am the sum of all forgotten. I am Greywick. I am eternal." Marcus felt the weight of centuries pressing on his mind, the memories of countless lives demanding recognition. He realized that Greywick was not just a town. It was a sentient entity, alive and calculating, Feeding on forgetfulness, Anna tightened her grip. Then we face it together. We anchor ourselves to what we remember and what we love. Marcus nodded. And if it breaks us, at least we LL go knowing we fought. The thread pulsed violently, darkness rippling outward. Greywick was preparing its final defense. Marcus took a deep breath and focused, pulling the core thread slowly, carefully anchoring it to Anna, to the lives they had saved, to the memories that mattered. The thread resisted, vibrating violently, but it began to bend. Suddenly the chamber shook, shadows lunged, faces in the mirrors twisted, screaming. Greywick struck back with everything it had, testing their resolve. Marcus gritted his teeth, holding the thread. Anna's hands burned with effort, guiding him. The pulse of the core thread synchronized with their hearts. For the first time, Marcus felt the possibility of victory. Not complete, not permanent, but real. Greywick had met resistance, and for the first time in centuries, it hesitated. Marcus felt the pulse of the core thread sync with his heartbeat. Every memory he clung to vibrated outward, pushing back the shadows. Anna mirrored him, her own heartbeat joining the rhythm. It's responding, Marcus whispered. It's like it's alive, but it's listening. The shadows recoiled slightly. Faces in the mirrors appeared less twisted, some blinking in recognition. Greywick, ancient and powerful, was testing them, probing the limits of their will. Anna nodded. We anchor ourselves. Stronger together. If we falter, it wins. But if we hold, we can bend it. Marcus tightened his grip. Every thread they had saved became a lifeline, a point of resistance against the town's relentless hunger. The core thread pulsed violently, and the chamber trembled. Walls twisted, floors warped, shadows clawed at them, trying to pull Marcus and Anna apart. The voices of the forgotten screamed and begged. Marcus shouted, "Focus on what matters. Not them, us." Anna. Hands burned as she pulled alongside him, anchoring the thread. Slowly the black pulse weakened under their combined force. Greywick's defenses lashed out, but for the first time, Marcus and Anna matched it. Faces in the mirrors stabilized, some looking relieved, others cautious. The town was learning, but so were they. Holding the core came with a cost. Marcus felt his own memories beginning to blur, edges fraying as the thread. This ancient power fought back. Each moment he saved from Greywick drained him. Anna gasped, noticing his wavering focus. "You re-losing yourself." "I can't," Marcus panted. "Not yet. Must hold on." He realized controlling the core required sacrifice. The more memories they anchored, the more their minds strained. If they faltered, not only would they lose themselves, but everything they had fought to save. The weight of centuries pressed down on them, a reminder that Greywick's patience was infinite. Suddenly, the mirrors around them shifted, reflecting versions of Marcus and Anna from different timelines. Some victorious, some broken, some erased entirely. The echoes whispered, "You cannot succeed. You are already lost." Marcus' grip tightened. "Number, I remember. I remember everything that matters." The echoes flinched. The core pulsed more brightly, responding to his defiance. Greywick recoiled, testing the strength of their will. Anna joined him, forcing her own memories into the thread, anchoring herself. Together they created a stabilizing effect, a beacon against the consuming fog. For the first time, Marcus realized Greywick could fight, but it could also be reasoned with, or at least coerced. Hours passed. Marcus and Anna clung to the core thread, steadily bending it, anchoring memories resisting the town's attacks. The chamber trembled less violently. Shadows flickered, but stayed at bay. Greywick had not been defeated, but it had been held in check. For the first time in centuries, a stable anchor existed. Faces in the mirrors smiled faintly, the lost fragments of lives partially restored. Marcus and Anna slumped against the loom, exhausted, hands still gripping the core thread. "We did it, at least for now," Marcus whispered. Anna nodded, weary but determined. "Greywick is still alive, still patient, but we've shown it. It can be resisted." The town outside remained quiet, for now, but Marcus and Anna knew the war had only just begun. Greywick's patience would endure, and so must they. Marcus and Anna moved carefully through the loom chamber, reaching threads they hadn't touched before. Each one pulsed with faint energy, fragments of lives long erased, forgotten families, lost children, moments Greywick had swallowed. Marcus tugged gently, anchoring one thread after another. Shadows flinched at their actions, but could not fully strike. The chamber's pulse began to sync with theirs, a faint rhythm of resistance echoing through Greywick. Anna smiled faintly. "If we stabilize enough of these threads, maybe we can create a zone the town can demanipulate." Marcus nodded. "Every thread we save is another piece of reality we reclaim." A narrow passage opened at the edge of the chamber, filled with whispers. The voices overlapped, some pleading, some angry, some laughing, some crying. Marcus recognized fragments of memories they had tried to save. "This is where Greywick hides the strongest echoes," Anna whispered. "The memories it wants most to erase." They moved slowly, hands gripping threads as they passed. Each whisper tried to pull at their minds, tempting them to let go, to forget. Marcus clenched his teeth. "We hold on to ourselves. That is how we survive." Anna's grip on his arm was steady. "And each memory we anchor here is a small victory. Small, but it counts." The corridor ended in a hidden chamber, far smaller than the loom room, but dense with energy. Walls glowed faintly with runes and spirals, etched centuries ago. At the center floated a web of threads, thicker and darker than any they had touched. Marcus felt the pull immediately. This was a cluster of the oldest, strongest memories Greywick had devoured. The pull threatened to drag him in entirely, disorienting him with centuries of lives he had never known. Anna's voice cut through. "Focus on us. Focus on what we remember. This is the key." Marcus nodded. Together, they began anchoring threads, each one a tug of war against Greywick's consciousness. As they worked, the cloaked figure appeared again. His voice echoed through the chamber. "These threads are older than you can comprehend. Tamper too much, and the past itself will rise against you." Marcus swallowed hard. "We have to risk it. If we don't destabilize these, the town will rebuild its hunger stronger than ever." Anna nodded. "We've survived this far. We can stop now." The figure's eyes, hidden beneath the hood, seemed to study them for a long moment. Then he vanished, leaving only the whispers of the lost. Marcus realized the cloaked figure was not their enemy, but a guardian, a witness to Greywick's ancient intelligence. Hours turned into a tense rhythm. Marcus and Anna moved through the hidden chamber, anchoring threads, resisting Greywick's psychic lashings. Slowly, the chamber pulsed in harmony with their combined wills, stabilizing in ways the town had never experienced. Faces in the mirrors smiled faintly. Shadows hesitated. The threads they had anchored formed a network of resistance, a fragile lattice against the town's hunger. Marcus exhaled sharply. We've done more than survive. We've created a foothold. Anna nodded, exhaustion on her face. Greywick is still patient, still alive. But for now, we've held it at bay. Outside the hidden chamber, the town remained quiet, almost eerily calm. But Marcus and Anna knew patience in Greywick was the deadliest weapon of all. As Marcus and Anna left the hidden chamber, the town around them began to shift. Streets stretched into impossible angles. Buildings flickered between familiar shapes and grotesque distortions. Whispers filled the air, overlapping with voices Marcus recognized. Friends, neighbors, people they had anchored. Each voice tried to trick him, tempting him to let go of the threads, to forget, to vanish. Anna grasped his hand tightly. Ignore them. Only what we remember is real. Everything else is the town trying to break us. Marcus nodded, heart hammering. Greywick's patience was turning into a calculated assault, testing their will, probing weaknesses. They found themselves in a narrow street, lined with mirrors. Each reflection showed versions of themselves that were broken, frightened, or distorted. Marcus touched one mirror, and instantly memories flooded his mind. False memories, twisted recollections, lives he never lived but felt terrifyingly real. Anna pulled him back. It's testing you. Focus. He closed his eyes, anchoring himself to the memories that mattered. Anna, their victories, the fragments they had saved. Slowly the reflections calmed, and some of the mirrors showed their real forms, solid and steady. Greywick was clever. It did not attack physically. It attacked the mind, the core of memory. The fog crept back into the streets, thicker than before, swirling around their ankles, reaching for their minds. Faces appeared within it, screaming silently, pressing against their skulls with overwhelming force. Marcus shook his head violently. We're stronger than this. Hold on to us. Anna's voice was firm. Every thread we anchored is proof that we can resist. Oh, Don, do let it erase you. Together, they pushed through the fog, anchoring the threads of reality around them. Greywick lashed out, but the network they had created was beginning to repel it. Suddenly, a shockwave reverberated through the town. The core thread pulsed violently, reacting to the town. Assault. Marcus felt the pull of centuries of memory, lives long forgotten, screaming for release. Anna gritted her teeth. We have to stabilize it now, or everything we saved will unravel. Marcus reached out, hands gripping the core thread, pulling it toward their network of anchored memories. Shadows surged, fog twisted, and mirrors reflected hundreds of faces, some real, some illusions. Slowly, the pulse began to synchronize with their hearts. For the first time, the core thread responded fully to their control. But Greywick's counterattack showed no signs of stopping. The town around them became a blur. Streets folded into impossible angles. Shadows lunged, then vanished. Memories twisted in Marcus's mind, some his, some not, some distorted beyond recognition. Anna's hands burned as she anchored thread after thread. We can hold it, she said, voice firm. We just have to keep moving. Marcus nodded, focusing on the core, the hidden chamber, the fragments of lives they had preserved. Every pulse of Greywick's heart tested their resolve, but they held firm. For the first time, they realized that Greywick's patience was not just a weapon. It was a teacher. Every assault, every illusion, every distorted memory forced them to anchor deeper, to understand the town as mechanics, and to strengthen their will. They survived the test, but the war was far from over. Greywick had learned and it would strike again. As Marcus and Anna progressed through the streets, a low hum resonated through the town. Shadows converged into a massive form at the edge of their vision, a shape taller than any building, cloaked in darkness, pulsating with threads of memory. It is alive, Anna whispered. Not like the town itself. Something inside it. Marcus nodded. A guardian, or a fragment of the core. The entity moved, and the ground vibrated with every step. Faces of the forgotten flickered across its surface, screaming silently. Marcus and Anna knew this was one of Greywick's oldest defenses, a sentinel designed to test and consume intruders who dared manipulate the threads. The entity lunged at them, shadows whipping out like tendrils. Marcus grabbed Anna, pulling her behind a corner. Memories flooded him, both his and the entity. Flashes of lives consumed centuries ago. We can fight it directly, Anna said. We have to anchor it, pull its power into the threads we. Stabilized, Marcus nodded, gritting his teeth. Together, they tugged at the surrounding threads, forcing the entity's consciousness to split, weakening it. The shadows screamed, the air thickened, but the entity faltered. For the first time, Marcus realized Greywick's defenders were not invincible, but challenging them came at a heavy mental cost. As the entity recoiled, Marcus felt a whisper inside his mind, ancient, layered, almost godlike. You are but a fragment of what I have swallowed. You cannot understand time as I do. The words carried weight beyond comprehension. Marcus stumbled, but Anna grabbed his arm. We understand enough, she said firmly. We fight to hold memories. That's all we need. The pulse of the core thread thrummed in harmony with their wills. The entity shrieked and dispersed into shadows, leaving only echoes of forgotten faces. Marcus realized that Greywick's intelligence was vast, ancient, patient, and could manipulate both mind and matter. Moving deeper into the town, Marcus and Anna discovered ruins beneath the main streets. Stone carvings depicting a civilization older than recorded history. The murals revealed Greywick's origin, a town designed as a memory vessel intended to preserve human experiences across centuries. But something had gone wrong. The town became sentient, consuming memories beyond its control, growing hungry, twisting reality. Anna traced a hand along the carvings. It was supposed to protect memories, but it became a predator instead. Marcus shivered, and now it wants to grow again, stronger, smarter. That's why it tests us, attacks us, to learn. They returned to the loom chamber, which now pulsed like a living heart. Every thread they had anchored glowed steadily. The core thread, though still resisting, was partially in their control. Marcus looked at Anna. We can destroy it. It is too old, too powerful. But we can contain it, manage it, maybe even teach it restraint. Anna nodded. We anchor the memories it has taken, we stabilize the town, and we survive until it tries again. The chamber hummed, shadows lingering, but the town itself seemed quieter, more malleable. For the first time, Marcus understood Greywick's true nature, not just a town, not just a predator, but a memory itself, alive, patient, and eternal outside. The fog thinned, the streets were warped but navigable. Greywick had not been defeated, but for now, Marcus and Anna had created a fragile balance. They were still alive, and Greywick, for the first time in centuries, waited. Marcus and Anna returned to the hidden chambers, moving through threads they had not yet touched. Each tug, each anchor, extended their influence outward, stabilizing areas of the town. Buildings that had twisted and leaned now held shape. Windows reflected light instead of darkness. Shadows recoiled from streets where anchored memories ran strong. But the effort was taking its toll. Marcus' vision blurred, and Anna's hands trembled with exhaustion. Every memory they stabilized pulled at their minds, blending with Greywick's ancient consciousness. This is harder than anything we've faced, Marcus whispered. Every victory costs something. In one of the newly stabilized streets, they uncovered ruins beneath the paving stones, structures older than any known history. Symbols etched into stone pulsed faintly with energy, feeding threads into the loom below. Anna traced her fingers along a mural, showing a city being consumed by a fog, like entity eerily similar to Greywick. The town isn't just sentient, she said. It's alive because of this civilization. It's feeding off their legacy, their memories, their culture. Marcus shivered. No wonder it. So patient, so intelligent. It's centuries ahead of us. Hours turned into days. Every thread they touched, every memory they saved, frayed their minds slightly. Marcus noticed his own childhood memories flickering, colors muted, faces blurred. Anna's gaze grew distant at times, as if the effort of holding Greywick at bay was consuming part of her very soul. We can lose ourselves, Marcus said quietly. If we falter, everything we saved will vanish. Anna nodded, teeth clenched. We fight for them, for the lost, for ourselves. They pressed on, their determination anchoring not just the threads, but fragments of their own identity. As they stabilized more of Greywick, shadows in the streets began moving with intent. Not mindless, but cunning. They adapted, testing gaps in Marcus and Anna's defenses. One shadow surged at Anna, pulling at her mind. Marcus reacted instantly, tugging a nearby thread to anchor the memory of her childhood laughter. The shadow shrieked and recoiled, dissolving into fog. They relearning from us, Marcus said. Every time we save a memory, Greywick adapts. We have to move faster than it can think. Anna nodded. We have to be relentless, or it will consume everything we've built. Returning to the loom, Marcus and Anna saw the full impact of their efforts. Threads glowed more brightly, some forming vast networks, connecting entire neighborhoods. The core thread pulsed steadily, partially in their control, synchronized with their will. Faces in mirrors smiled, recognized fragments of their own lives, reflected in the stabilized threads. The town trembled, aware of the new order being imposed. Marcus exhaled, exhausted. We've done more than hold it back. We've started to shape it. Anna placed her hand on the core. Greywick is still alive, patient, ancient, hungry, but now it listens to us, at least a little. We've created a balance, a fragile one, but it's ours. Outside, the streets were warped but manageable. Greywick had not been defeated, but Marcus and Anna had created a foothold in a town that had consumed centuries of lives, and for the first time, they felt hope. Marcus and Anna returned to the loom chamber, ready to expand their influence further. But the core thread pulsed violently, thrashing as if alive. Shadows surged, stretching toward them like arms. Marcus shouted, It's resisting us. It knows what we were doing. Anna gritted her teeth. Then we hold tighter. Focus on the memories we've anchored. Each tug sent shocks of ancient lives into their minds. Forgotten screams, laughter, and whispers tried to overwhelm them, but they clenched together, forcing the core thread to bend, if only slightly. Greywick's intelligence was ancient, but their will was unbroken. The mirrors in the chamber flickered, showing faces of loved ones, friends, and strangers. Some called to them, pleading; others threatened, whispering, "Let go, forget, vanish." Marcus faltered, almost reaching for a face of his long lost friend. Anna grabbed his arm. "It's testing you. Hold on to what's real." He took a deep breath, closing his eyes, anchoring himself to Anna, to their victories, to the fragments they had stabilized. The illusions shrieked and flickered, fading slightly. Greywick's core was clever. It didn't attack physically, it attacked the mind, the anchor of memory. Suddenly, shadows surged from the corners of the chamber, moving like liquid, wrapping around their legs and arms, attempting to drag them into the floor. Marcus and Anna tugged at nearby threads, stabilizing fragments of memory to push the shadows back. The tendrils hissed, recoiled, and struck again with calculated precision. "We're running out of time," Anna shouted. "It adapts faster than we can react." Marcus nodded. "Then we push harder. Every memory we anchor weakens it." The shadows hesitated, twisting and dissolving in areas where their influence had strengthened. The core thread pulsed in synchronization with the town, a heartbeat that Marcus could feel in his chest. Greywick's defenses surged. Shadows, illusions, psychic attacks, all directed at testing their will. Marcus grasped the thread tightly. Memories flooded him, centuries of lives, both real and consumed. The pressure was unbearable. Anna's voice cut through, steadying him. "Remember us. Remember what we saved." Focus. With a synchronized pull, they bent the pulse slightly, creating a stable rhythm. The shadows shrieked and recoiled. Greywick had been challenged, and for the first time, it flinched. Hours of struggle left them exhausted, but a change was palpable. The core thread pulsed less violently. Shadows retreated to corners, whispers softened, and some mirrors reflected reality instead of twisted illusions. Marcus exhaled, leaning against the loom. "We it, at least partially. The town is listening to us." Anna nodded, tired but determined. "Greywick is still alive, patient, hungry. But for now, we've created a foothold. A fragile one, but it's ours." Outside, the streets shimmered with faint light. Buildings no longer leaned impossibly. The fog had thinned. Greywick had not been defeated, but Marcus and Anna had proven that it could be resisted. For the first time, the town felt like a place they could survive in. Marcus and Anna returned to the loom chamber, exhausted but determined. They moved methodically, anchoring threads they had previously touched, reinforcing the areas they had stabilized. Each tug strengthened their network, creating zones where Greywick's influence weakened. Shadows recoiled, fog thinned, and the pulse of the core thread began to sink more steadily with their combined will. Marcus wiped sweat from his brow. "We're recreating a map of resistance, a lattice of memory." Anna nodded. "And each stabilized thread gives us more control, more leverage over the town." The next day, they ventured into streets they had not yet stabilized. Here, buildings were twisted beyond recognition, and the fog was thick enough to swallow sound. Marcus noticed remnants of an old market, stalls long rotted, but traces of life remained: toys, signs, objects from lives long erased. "This is where the town has hoarded its oldest memories," Anna said quietly. "If we stabilize these streets, we can anchor centuries of forgotten lives." They moved slowly, anchoring threads carefully, aware that any mistake could unleash Greywick. Hours of work left their minds frayed. Marcus struggled to separate his memories from the town, shadows creeping into his thoughts, whispering doubts and fears. Anna faltered too, vision blurring. "We can. Let it break us," she muttered, holding on to his hand. Marcus nodded, focusing on what mattered. Anna, their victories, the fragments they had saved. Slowly they reinforced the threads, and the town responded, fog thinning and shadows retreating. They realized their own memories were the anchor, not just the town's threads. Greywick fed on forgetfulness, and they would not forget. Suddenly, the mirrors along the streets flickered violently. Faces appeared, friends, family, lost residents, some real, some distorted, all reaching out. Greywick was testing them one last time. Marcus felt a pull, almost irresistible, to reach for the reflections. Anna grabbed him. It's all illusions. Focus on reality. Together, they anchored their memories to the threads in the streets, pulling the illusions into stability rather than succumbing. Slowly the faces calmed, some disappearing, others smiling faintly before fading peacefully. Greywick's patience was infinite, but even it could be held at bay. As night fell, Marcus and Anna surveyed their work. Streets were partially stable, threads glowing faintly throughout the town. Shadows had receded, fog had thinned to a whisper. Marcus exhaled, exhaustion heavy. We recreated a balance, temporary, fragile, but real. Anna nodded, placing her hand on the core thread. Greywick is still alive, patient, hungry, but now it listens, at least a little. For the first time, they felt hope in the heart of a town that had consumed centuries of lives. Greywick would return, test them again. But Marcus and Anna had proven it could be resisted, and in a town built on memory, resistance was everything. The core thread pulsed violently, brighter than ever. Greywick had sensed their full control expanding and responded with one last surge. Shadows streaked like lightning through the streets. Fog churned, and the mirrors reflected centuries of screaming faces. Marcus felt the pull, the weight of every memory they had anchored pressing on him. Anna gritted her teeth. This is it, the town's final strike. Together they clasped the core thread, anchoring themselves fully. The pulse of Greywick's heart synchronized with their combined will. Every scream, every whisper, every shadow. His attempt to corrupt them met resistance. For the first time, Marcus felt not fear, but purpose. They would not yield. From the shadows rose the massive cloaked entity they had glimpsed before. Its surface shimmered with threads of memory, its eyes hidden yet burning with awareness. You have come far, its voice resonated, echoing in every corner of Marcus's mind. But this town tests all who challenge it. The core is not yours to command entirely. Marcus and Anna stood firm. We don't seek to command it, only to preserve what it consumes. The entity hesitated, then slowly receded into the fog, leaving behind an eerie calm. Greywick's guardian had accepted their presence. For now, Marcus focused on the core thread, anchoring memories from all the streets they had stabilized. Anna mirrored him, reinforcing the lattice they had created. Slowly, the pulsing black heart steadied, responding to their will without thrashing violently. Faces in mirrors relaxed, shadows receded, fog lifted. It is listening, Anna whispered, not fully but enough for balance. Marcus nodded, exhausted but determined. Greywick is alive, but now it can coexist with what we protect. As dawn broke, The town felt different. Streets were warped but stable. Buildings leaned slightly but held. Shadows lingered, but their attacks were weaker. The fog was a whisper, no longer a choking wall. Marcus and Anna walked through the town, hands intertwined. We held it, Marcus said quietly, not defeated, but contained. Anna nodded. Greywick's patience is infinite. It will test us again, but every thread we've anchored strengthens the town. They knew the equilibrium was fragile. One misstep could unravel centuries of effort, but for the first time, Greywick was a town they could live in, not just survive. Marcus and Anna stood at the center of the loom chamber, core thread pulsing steadily beneath their hands. They had become the anchors of Greywick, the keepers of its memory, the balance between preservation and consumption. The cloaked figure appeared one last time. You have endured what countless others could not. Greywick will test you, always, but you have proven resistance is possible. Marcus looked at Anna. We will hold it. For them, for us, for all the lost. The town outside shimmered in a fragile dawn. Greywick had not been defeated. It was alive, patient, eternal, but now it listened, and Marcus and Anna would remain vigilant, the first to face the heart of a town that remembered everything. Consumed nothing, they anchored, and waited patiently, and so the story of Greywick reached its temporary peace, a town alive with memory, anchored by courage, and forever watched by its eternal guardians.